African cinema has been in search of a voice, a soul, since even before independence of most African states. The Sembenes of this world, the Hondos of this world, were actively scouring their artistic and creative minds, looking for a voice that resonates with the African spirit. So my view is that all of a sudden in this generation of African filmmakers, Africa has suddenly found a voice. That is a voice that is not judgmental, a voice that is authentic, a voice that is nuanced, a voice that is bold and confident. And I think as a filmmaker, the stories that I tell are stories that have universal connection, universal significance, but stories that are rooted and anchored in Africa. It is like an out-of-body experience because my body is there on that set, but my mind is in the film. My mind is envisaging, visualizing, conceptualizing, and trying to bring what is simply an idea to fruition so that people can feel the same way that I felt all those nights that I couldn't sleep while I was thinking about this project. So while I'm on set, I don't see the immediate. I am maybe 5 steps ahead of everybody. The actors are consumed in their immediate scene, how to play it, how to represent it. But I would say that I am far away beyond post-production. I see the picture playing up in my head, which means I can, because I'm so far ahead, I can guide the people that are with me towards achieving that goal that has kept me awake at night. It's not a nice look to see me on set because madness is a very small word, a very euphemistic way of describing what happens to me when I'm on set. But it's a kind of madness that I enjoy, a kind of madness that I think that has a plan about it. So it's not just madness, it's madness with a bit of a genius. Over the years, we've been trying to use cinema as a means of reversing many years of colonization and many more years of brutal neo-colonization. So the African filmmaker has been imbued with this responsibility to be the agent for change, to be the catalyst for a reconsciencing of Africans, to get them to think, to get them to see the evil ways of colonialism and the evil ways of the new disease that is faced the continent, which is bad politics, bad governance, poverty, economic hardships, discrimination, fights, wars, famine, the lot. So as a filmmaker, even though you don't want to be involved politically, you don't have a choice. So the choice now you have is to choose whether to make your film a propagandist film, in which case you are shortening its life, in which case you are reducing the spread, the scope of that film by merely making it a political agenda. So most filmmakers like myself would dabble into areas that are considered political, but with a nuanced, sugar-coated pill technique, so that you talk about the politics without branding it and making it overtly politics. Yes, so as a filmmaker, I have a social responsibility to put a mirror in front of my society, and that mirror captures everything: politics, sociology, anthropology, who we are, who we're becoming, who we shouldn't be. But I don't make it the motif of my entire film. It is subsumed in the message, nuanced, and presented in such a way that people get it without hitting them in the face with it. Heart to Heart is a project that I say started as a joke. I watched my wife do a video conference in call with her colleagues from work, and she recorded it. So I sat there. This was sometime in March this year, and I said, if you could record that, then I could get a bunch of actors, send them the script, ask them to use their phones, and I would record them on my Zoom. So bingo, I wrote a small script in collaboration with my wife, Amaka, and sent it to Swanky, JKA Achifosi, who's becoming one of the biggest stars of Nollywood. And a young lady that I've never met before who lives in England here. And I said, here is an opportunity to make something in this madness that we experienced, and everybody was on lockdown, the world was shut down. And lo and behold, I rehearsed them, got the young girl's father to be the cameraman, and got the young boy's brother to be the cameraman in Nigeria. And I bridged the gap between London and Lagos from my living room on my laptop, where I recorded the film. And after a few nights of editing, bingo, I had a 7-minute film, which I put out on my YouTube channel, Obi Emelonye TV. And I wasn't expecting much of it. I felt, this is the first short film I'm making, so some people might find it that somebody so established in the industry will be making short films like me. But then it landed, and I would say caught fire. Everybody received a message of positivity from it. Young filmmakers across the world called me and sent me messages on social media and said, my camera is my weapon. I didn't know that until you reminded me. Young lovers out there who are separated by the distance or by the problems of COVID-19 suddenly found hope that, behind, over all of this madness, social distancing and bans on travel, and all the problems, the measures that have been put in place to protect us through this madness, that the most important thing is how you feel, how you connect with somebody emotionally. That deep spiritual connection is sometimes more important than the big ceremonies. Like the two lovers, they told themselves that the church service, the wedding dress, and all of those are for sure. They are for the people outside. The marriage is between these two people, and how they feel is paramount, and how they feel cannot be affected by coronavirus. It cannot be bridged. It cannot be separated by distance. So, that I think made me very, very humble and proud that people could find something positive in a 7-minute video that was essentially a joke, and they could glean from it a certain optimism, what I call stubborn optimism, that in spite of the doom and gloom, if we believe and keep working, we shall rise again. I would say following on my very innovative idea of shooting a film remotely with Zoom, a few other projects have happened, even on the mainstream in the UK, where they have attempted to make something like that. But by God's grace, we are in the middle of July, and with the way things are going, hopefully the coronavirus would taper off and hopefully come to an end, and the world can come back to normal. Because the challenge is that the film industry that we work in is a very intimate, very tactile, very interactive, really close knit process. So it will be very difficult to continue to make films, remotely. But I would believe that some vestiges of remote filmmaking will remain even when things get back to normal. For example, if you're shooting in Lagos and you have somebody in Abuja who can't fly in for some logistical reason, you can remotely record the scene with him, especially if they are alone in that scene. and especially if it's not a lot of interaction with all the other characters. But I think the world of film will continue to adapt this technique to try and make life easier and save money for productions. But by and large, the film industry will remain a very interactive, very personal, very intimate affair. When the water is muddied a little bit, the mudfish thrives. So in this madness that we are experiencing all over, where everything has come to a halt and every single industry, every single aspect of human endeavor has been affected negatively. Some careers and some professions have been completely decimated, completely erased from existence. I would say the film industry is one of those industries that would make a full recovery. But for now, just like everything in life, every challenge provides an opportunity. And that opportunity has been exploited by filmmakers who had the luck of having finished a project before the madness started, so that now they can, with everybody sitting at home and searching for what to do, with sports not available on television, with sports not available outside, people are locked in, and there's a quest for something to fill their times with. And all of a sudden, the streaming platforms have taken on added significance and added importance in this new development. So the Netflix of this world have had a field day with subscriptions and with viewerships and viewing numbers going through the roof, and that has also created a craving for more content. I was approached by Netflix for some of those older, some of them are nearly 10 years old, but I was very pleased and chuffed that they passed quality control and they are now on Netflix, in addition to some of my new content. So Netflix is I would say milking it, but they are also investing in it. They are planning to invest in a few productions as a start in Nigeria, and that's the tip of the iceberg, the first of many productions and co-productions that would happen between Netflix and the Nigerian film industry. The cinema is one of those very resilient industries, because watching the film in a cinema is not just watching a film in the cinema. It's an experience which you cannot replicate at home. So a lot of people predicted that cinema will die with the advent of films on television. It's still here. A lot of people thought that at the beginning of streaming that people would not go out anymore. But we are interactive animals. We don't like to be locked in. We want to go out and experience life and experience a show together, which is why music and shows, physical shows would never ever die, even though they can watch those shows on TV. So because it's a completely different experience, the cinema would bounce back. But there is no denying the fact that what has happened with coronavirus and the streaming platforms coming to fill that gap would adversely affect cinema revenue, at least in the short term, or at least in the medium term. But in the long run, the cinema would bounce back, because once people are able to go out without fear of contamination, without fear of catching a disease, or without fear of dying, some of those social instincts that have made us humans would come back. And one of the important things that they would want to do is that communal experience of story. A lot of people feared that Nollywood would suffer irreparable damage following the problems of COVID-19. But I'm not one of those people that share that opinion. You have to remember that Nollywood did not start as an elitist filmmaking industry. Nollywood started as an entrepreneurial, almost subsistence film industry. And that means that people that are making films have no other means of livelihood than to make films. So what this means is that it is either they make films or they die. So what do? They go ahead and make films. I would say the quality would suffer because investment would, deteriorate a little bit. But the mere graft of making films, the ability to tell stories, the ability to go out there and gather people and make a production happen, that would never leave Nollywood. That is something that we have put in our DNA. And the resilience that is inbuilt in the Nigerian DNA, as well as the very positive, never say die, stubborn, optimistic nature of Nollywood, would mean that whatever we go through, we'll come out on the other end, still pushing, still fighting, still telling stories, still being the voice of Nigerians and the voice of Africans. So Nollywood will survive.